When I was a boy, I thought old age was something that happened to other people. It was a blurry word adults used when they talked about their parents, like a distant country I'd never visit. Even in my 40s, even in my 60s, I still felt like I was standing outside that place, looking at it through a foggy window. Then, a few years ago, I sat on the edge of a paper-covered exam table while a young doctor avoided my eyes and explained in careful professional language that my heart and lungs were failing in ways medicine could slow but not undo. He didn't give me a date, but his tone did. It said, quietly and clearly, that I probably wouldn't be around for much longer. I remember nodding like I understood, like I was listening to instructions about changing a tire. Inside, though, something collapsed. Not dramatically, no movie-style panic. It felt more like a building settling after an earthquake, dust drifting down in slow motion. I drove home afterward with the radio off. I didn't cry. I just noticed everything. The cracks in the sidewalk, a woman arguing with her sister on a phone, the way the sun reflected off the hood of my car like it was trying to get my attention. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table long after the house went quiet. The refrigerator hummed. A neighbor's dog barked once and then stopped. I tried to imagine not being here anymore, not seeing another fall, not hearing another bad joke, not waking up with stiff fingers that needed a minute before they remembered how to move. I couldn't picture it. What I could picture was everything I had done wrong, everything I had postponed, all the conversations I had rushed through because I thought I had time to come back to them later. At 81, your life doesn't replay like a neat highlight reel. It comes in fragments, a smell, a sound, the color of a dress someone wore 50 years ago. I remembered my mother standing at the sink, hands red from dish soap, humming a tune she never taught me the words to. I remembered my father's silence at dinner, the way it filled the room like heavy furniture no one wanted, but everyone learned to walk around. I remembered being young and impatient, certain that I would become someone important before I became someone kind. I spent most of my life believing that meaning was something you earned after you proved yourself, after the promotion, after the mortgage, after your name was on something other people recognized. So I ran. I chased respect the way a thirsty man chases a mirage, always thinking the next achievement would finally make me feel solid inside. It never quite did. It just gave me better excuses for why I was tired, distant, unavailable. There was a woman once who loved me more gently than I deserved. I won't say her name here because some memories feel like they belong to the dead, even when the people in them are still alive somewhere. She used to sit on the arm of my chair while I worked, her hand resting on my shoulder like a question mark. I would shrug it off, not unkindly, but with the distracted impatience of someone who thinks the present moment is a hallway leading to a more important room. I told myself I was doing it for us. I told myself we'd enjoy life later. Later is a word that grows teeth when you get old. It bites. We didn't end in a dramatic fight. We faded. That's how most things disappear. Quietly, while you're busy looking in another direction. Years after she left, I tried to remember the exact sound of her laugh and realized I couldn't. I knew it had been warm. I knew it had made other people turn their heads in restaurants. But the sound itself was gone, like a song I used to know by heart, and now could only hum the shape of. When you're told your time might be shorter than you planned, the world doesn't suddenly become poetic. It becomes painfully ordinary. You still have to take out the trash. You still argue with your insurance company. You still forget where you put your glasses while they're sitting on your face, but everything ordinary feels heavier, like it's been underlined in ink you can't erase. I started walking more slowly, not because my body demanded it, but because my mind did. I watched people in grocery stores, a young couple arguing over cereal, a tired mother apologizing to a cashier for her child's tantrum, an old man counting coins with hands that shook just enough to tell his story without words. I wanted to tap them on the shoulder and tell them that none of their small mistakes would matter, that the love they were neglecting would, that the silence between them and someone they cared about would grow louder than any argument if they let it. But you can't hand your regrets to strangers like flyers on a street corner. So I kept them to myself. I carried them the way you carry loose change in your pocket, always aware of their weight even when you're not reaching for them. I thought about my son, too, about the years I mistook providing for parenting. I paid for things, schools, clothes, a car when he turned 16. But there were evenings I could have sat on the edge of his bed and asked what scared him, and I didn't. There were weekends I could have listened to music he liked instead of calling it noise. I told myself I was giving him independence. The truth is, I was practicing distance. We're polite now. We talk on birthdays, holidays. We exchange updates like neighbors discussing the weather. I don't blame him for the space between us. I helped build it, brick by brick, with good intentions and poor attention. When the doctors spoke to me about my condition, they used words like manage and monitor. I heard something else. I heard a quiet invitation to take inventory, to finally look at my life the way you look at a house you're about to move out of, noticing the scratches on the walls, the rooms you never really used, the corners where dust gathered because you were always in a hurry to be somewhere else. I began writing letters I may never send. Apologies that start awkwardly, the way all honest apologies do, with no defense built into them. Gratitude for people who had no idea they saved me on days when I didn't want to be saved. Confessions I didn't have the courage to speak out loud because spoken words demand an answer, and paper is kind enough to stay silent. Some nights, fear sits beside me like an uninvited guest. It doesn't say much. It just waits. On those nights, I think about the version of myself at 25, walking fast, chest full of certainty, convinced that time was a loyal employee who would always show up early and stay late. I want to tell him that time is more like a stranger who helps you carry your groceries once and then disappears into traffic. I don't know how long I have. None of us ever really does. I only know that the future I assumed would arrive has grown smaller, more fragile, like a photograph left too long in the sun. And in that shrinking space, something unexpected has happened. The need to impress has faded. The urge to win arguments has softened. The hunger to be right has been replaced by a quiet wish to be gentle. I used to think wisdom would feel like confidence, like having answers. It doesn't. It feels like knowing how many things you misunderstood while you were busy explaining yourself. There are mornings now when my chest aches and I have to sit on the edge of the bed longer than I used to. I listen to the house waking up. Pipes clicking. Wind moving through the trees outside the window. I put my feet on the floor and feel the cold travel up my bones, and I think, not for the first time, that this might be one of the last times I do this. And instead of terror, what comes is a strange, heavy gratitude for the ordinary miracle of standing, for breath that still arrives, for another small square of light on the wall that proves I am still here to notice it. If I've learned anything in these 81 years, it's that life isn't a straight line you conquer. It's a room you walk through, bumping into furniture in the dark, apologizing to people you didn't mean to hurt, losing things you thought you had a good grip on. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you stop long enough to hold someone's hand and feel the warmth of it, real and unremarkable and irreplaceable. I wish I had called my mother more. I wish I had let silence be comfortable instead of treating it like a problem to solve. I wish I had said, "I'm scared," instead of pretending to be strong. I wish I had understood that being needed is not the same as being loved, and that love does not survive on leftovers. If you're younger than me, You won't hear this the way I mean it. You'll translate it into something manageable, something you can agree with and then set aside. That's natural. I did the same when old men spoke to me with tired eyes and careful voices. I nodded. I thanked them. Then I went back to being busy. All I can offer you is the truth as it looks from where I'm standing now. The days feel long when you're young. They feel like heavy books when you're old, full of pages you barely remember turning. The moments that stay are never the ones you planned. They are unguarded. A hand on your shoulder, a laugh from the next room, someone choosing to sit with you when they could be somewhere else. I don't know what happens when this ends. I have opinions, hopes, a few quiet prayers I'm not sure who hears. But I know that the measure of my life will not be the years I counted, but the people I failed to fully see while I was counting them. So I sit here, still breathing, still surprised by the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears at night, and I try to make peace with the man I was, not by forgiving him, but by understanding how afraid he always was of standing still long enough to feel anything deeply. If my story has any value, it's not in the illness or the number of candles on the cake. It's in this simple, stubborn truth. You will never be more ready to love, to listen, to tell the truth than you are right now. Not when you have more money, not when you finally rest, not when life becomes less complicated. Now is the quiet center of it, and it passes without asking permission. I know that better than I ever wanted to.